Hi everyone, and welcome to the context lecture for Oprah Winfrey's Golden Globe speech. Now this lecture will be very useful in your analysis in explaining how does language empower or disempower for your Unit 4. Now let us begin. Now, one of the key things that you must know in regards to Oprah's speech is the mention of the Me Too movement. Now, it was founded sometime late 2017, and it was prompted because of the case of Harvey Weinstein. This is the man right here. He is arguably one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. And he is known to sexually harass or even abuse many celebrities. And what he has done is that he has created a system whereby not only him, but even many men in his circle to be able to abuse various women. And we are talking about aspiring actresses. Now, what made it so difficult for victims to come forward is because he has so much power to the point that he is able to destroy careers and even slap on $1 million worth of lawsuit to the point that it immobilizes his victims. But thank you to social media, late last year or nowadays, victims are more have access to record and tell their stories and how they were sexually abused. Because of this expose, it has brought forth of many exposés for other iconic or powerful people in the industry. So you're looking at the likes of Bill Cosby. He is known for raping his dates, or as a more popular term would be called date rape. For an 80-year-old plus man, now he is facing charges really late in his life where many of his victims have come forward to charge him with his crimes. And then we have Ben Affleck. Now Ben Affleck, while there's no record of him actually raping or abusing women per se, but he has close ties to Harvey Weinstein, whereby he is one of those people who are aware of Weinstein's crimes and have not said anything about it. And also on record, there are evidences of Affleck sexually harassing women, particularly female reporters, during many of his movie interviews. Then we have Morgan Freeman. Now this is quite recent at the time of recording. A few weeks ago, he came forward to apologize to some of the women that he was involved in the past who accused him of sexual harassment. And lastly, we have Larry Nassar. Now, Larry Nassar is not tied to the entertainment industry, but he belonged in the sports industry. Oprah did mention about or making an allusion to athletes speaking up their truth, and that is actually an allusion to Larry Nassar's high-profile case, whereby for years he has been abusing and raping many young gymnasts, and we're talking about as young as 8 years old. So over 300 women have stepped forward to testify against him, and he is right now pretty much rotting in jail. Now, one of the reasons why this is called a Me Too movement is because it is the whole idea that every woman at some point of their lives have experienced some form of sexual abuse or harassment. Hence, the saying of Me Too. All right, now let's move on. Now, Oprah spent a huge chunk of her speech to tell us the history or the story of Reese Taylor, and particularly about her rape. Okay, so what happened to Reese was that she was on her way back from church when she was kidnapped at gunpoint by 6 armed white men, and it has been known that these men have ties to the military. So she was kidnapped, and at the time when she was kidnapped, she was actually with one of her friends, and upon the kidnapping, her friend immediately made a police report, and eventually the family brought her case to the court. Unfortunately, due to the time where it is almost bizarre that a non-white person would come forward to demand justice, the men, this men who raped Reese, walked away free with just a simple fine. They were not even charged with rape. So naturally, the black community was outraged. This led them to contact the NAACP, which stands for the National Advancement of Colored People, and what they do is that it's an organization that basically defends and upholds the civil rights. That's why they are, basically that's what they do, and they managed to connect Recy Taylor to Rosa Parks, and we will get to know a bit more about Rosa Parks later on. So Rosa Parks ended up representing Recy Taylor at court. Unfortunately, it became, unfortunately, it was it didn't work out well in their favor, and on top of that, it became quite a controversial issue because, again, it's not normal to see a non-white woman to demand justice. So during their first trial, it was pretty much against them already because it was preceded by an all-white male jury. So naturally, there's bias there, and the conclusion was that the rapists were all walked free. So again, they were never charged for their crimes. On top of that, after this court case, the hell for Recy did not stop there. Because of her courage to speak up, that brought upon a lot of death threats, and usually this was carried out by white supremacists. Now, the sad, but also, I guess, a form of retribution would be that in 2011, the law finally recognized Recy's case and issued a formal apology. But as we all know, this is far too late, as it only happened in 2011. So imagine this: at this point, Recy would have been, in her early 90s, and you can imagine how much suffering she had to endure. Not only what happened to her physically and mentally, but to know that society has not recognized what has happened to her. Now, Oprah alludes to Recy's injustice to the fact, and it was due to the fact of that they were living in a Jim Crow era. So the Jim Crow laws actually refers to state and local laws that enforce racial segregation, whereby they believe that, the white and the non-white should never mix. So we're talking about different sets of facilities, even different institutions. You can see here that in the first picture on your left, that there were protests at one point when the government wanted to remove these laws and the first step is usually with education. So they don't want to have all white or all black schools, they want to have a school. But we can see here, for white supremacists, that's not what they want. And on your right, you can see a picture here where, it's basically a sign that shows a public facility where it is segregated, right? You see a drinking fountain for white people and then a drinking fountain for colored people. All right, moving on. Now, this is an image where it's a powerful image, by the way, where it is a very common sight to see if you were to live in a Jim Crow era, whereby for buses, there are compartments reserved for colored people and also white people. And imagine this. If you're a black person in an empty bus, you can sit anywhere you like, but the moment there's a white passenger that comes on board, you have to immediately move to the back end of the bus. And if the bus is full, to the point that white people started, leaking into the colored side, colored people have to give up their seats to give it to white people, because that's just how it works. And also these little things, it's not little, but these things goes to show that racism or racial discrimination is very clear, whereby the law recognizes that one race is superior than the other. And this is Rosa Parks. While she is a very well-known lawyer and represented Recy Taylor, she came to prominence when she staged the Montgomery bus boycott, whereby she basically removed this ridiculous bus system. And she is considered one of the key figures in civil rights movement. Now, I want to talk a bit about the power of representation. Oprah mentioned in her speech whereby she was inspired by Sidney Poitier's winning of the Oscar. So this is a picture of Sidney Poitier, and I want to talk about the power of representation because it is important that for little children to see people who look like them achieve success, because that will just create a cycle. And I'll try to show you through the slides. So we can argue that with Poitier's winning, it inspired Oprah to become Oprah, that this media mogul, right? And because of her trailblazing and breaking boundaries, we could be able to see Obama become president. And then we have Simone Biles, who is an Olympian, a gold medalist. And it led on to having a movie like Black Panther, where you have a full black cast. And this is extremely powerful for young black kids, because for them it is very rare to see a superhero who looks really cool and who looks like them. So then we have another case of, this is very recent, we have the marriage between Prince Harry and his wife. And the reason why she is considered a trailblazer, because she's biracial. And this gives hope for, or at least it goes to show to little girls that, it is possible for one to be a princess, although I wouldn't recommend it. Then how would that look like to us for Asians? Well, we have a movie that's coming up called Crazy Rich Asians. So this is important for many Asian Americans because it's an all Asian cast, and for us Malaysians, will be particularly interesting because we have Henry Golding, who is the male lead, who is Malaysian, and this book is actually based on a book, and it was written by a Singaporean. So this could be a form of pride for many Asians around the world. We have Yuna, who is a Malaysian who managed to get signed with Pharrell Williams and now is living in LA. So this will give a lot of hope and also a form of motivation for many aspiring artists that we have here in Malaysia. Alright, what about BTS? Well, whether you like K-pop or not, you cannot argue the fact that them being able to perform at the billboards is a huge moment for Asian music, because finally the world, aka the American music industry, finally recognized the power of Asian music. Now, lastly, I want to talk about Trump versus the media. And Oprah alludes to this when she said that the press is under siege right now. And this is basically referring to Trump calling any critical news outlets as fake news. Whoever dares to comment him will be called as fake news. This is particularly worrying because it threatens the freedom of press and freedom of speech in America. So in a sense, Oprah is trying to unite and rally all the press to work together in order to fight against Trump's administration. And also how Trump is tied to the Me Too movement would be that he was accused of many sexual harassment. Particularly, there is one evidence whereby he was caught bragging on air or on record to harassing some beauty pageants. So, and he seems very proud of it. He represents these powerful men who are so used to having a lot of power and having the freedom to do whatever they want, and to the point where they are actually hurting and damaging people around them. So that's it. I'm going to end the video here. I hope this would be like a good enough crash course about the context behind or surrounding Oprah's speech. That is all. Thank you so much. Bye everyone.